Oh, everybody. All right, so I got myself into some Stormtroopers of Death, courtesy of Drew. This is Speak English or Die. I've listened to this album once. I am only going to listen to it once. But it's not because it's a bad album. It's because it's not my kind of album. There are 22 tracks on this compact disc. This is a 1992 reissue. The original album only had 21 tracks on it. The tracks on this album literally range from 2 seconds to 2.5 minutes. Yeah. All right. There are some actual good tunes on here. I very much enjoyed March of the S.O.D. I thought that was pretty good. Sergeant D and the S.O.D. I thought was pretty decent as well. And then after that, it's kind of like bits and pieces of songs I thought were good. If there's one particular track, Fist Banging Mania, I hate the choruses. The choruses ruin the song for me. But every other part of the song, if it had been rearranged a little better and done a little differently, it would have been brilliant. There is a lot of great riffs in here. I mean, a lot of great riffing in here. And lyrically, it doesn't matter. It's a fun throwaway album. This album was originally recorded in, I believe it was 85. The best way to look at this album is if you're one of your high school bands, you know, not the serious high school band. And when I say high school band, I mean like a band that's in the school, okay? Like, so when I was in high school, we had about, within the school, I think there was about 7-8 bands. 1 or 2 of them were really serious. The rest of them were all kind of eh. And a lot of the songs on here would belong in the category from the eh, but these were punk bands, whereas this is thrash. I don't feel appropriate calling this thrash. Yes, it definitely has a thrash sound to it, but the songs are nowhere near long enough to be thrash. They're fast enough, and the riffs are there, and there's enough riffs in there, but they're not, they don't have the longevity or the discipline. Like I said, we're talking tracks that go between 2 seconds and 2.5 minutes. To me, a thrash song, you know, clocks in at like a minimum of 4 minutes. Okay. Some of the other songs on here worth mentioning. I thought Phi Alpha Nu was kind of cool. I'm just gonna rattle off the track listing here, okay? You got March of the S.O.D., which I thought was a great song. Serpent D and the S.O.D., which I thought was pretty decent. Kill Yourself, which... Okay, let's start with I don't like blast beats. I don't like the... Which happens in a lot of thrash punk grindcore kind of like I really just don't like them. They're annoying to me. You don't get a groove out of it. You just get noise. Milano Mosh kind of had a similar-ish kind of problem with it. Speak English or Die. The song's just funny. United Forces. Okay, United Forces and Chromatic Death kind of blended for me while I was listening to it. I didn't realize I'd already gone through Chromatic Death when I was into Phi Alpha Nu, which I thought was pretty good. I enjoyed Phi Alpha Nu. It made me actually look at it and go, woo. Anti-Procrastination song. This one is one of the first quick songs, clocks in at 3 seconds. I don't even remember what the hell it was. What's that noise? Oh my god, this is so funny. So funny. Oh my God. When I got to What's That Noise, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely the type. If me and the band I played with in high school, if we had the ability to put out a CD, we could only do cassettes back in the 90s, okay? We did have a 4-track, so, you know, my buddy Matt with the 4-track did release a tape that had some of our stuff on it. What's That Noise? I kept kind of trying to push the band towards doing more comedy kind of stuff at times, just because it was easier. You know, it's easier to have to not be serious than it is to be serious. And What's That Noise is the perfect example of a band not being serious and having some fun and not being afraid to release it and not being afraid to have a joke on the album. It's really, really good. That's followed up by Freddy Krueger, which I wanted to like because it's called Freddy Krueger, but no. Then we get into Milk. Milk is interesting. Never have I heard a punk band want milk so badly. All right. Premenstrual Princess Blues. I don't even know where to go with that one. Pussy Whipped. Okay, so Pussy Whipped typically would be the type of song that I don't like, but because of the lyrics and the way it's being done and everything like that, it works completely. But once again, this is going back to, it sounds like it's a high school punk band with a big budget making this. Fist Banging Mania, I've already mentioned. The song would be really good. This is one of those songs where I would love to have gotten the band, put them in the studio as a producer, worked on it, drawn it out a little bit, tweaked with the song. It clocks in about 2 minutes. It could have easily gone to 4 minutes, and I think it could have been a really, really good song. Different lyrics would have been needed. No Turning Back was all right. The Middle East. Remember, this was recorded in 1985, so this would have been Rambo 3. This would have been the whole Russia with the Middle East. A lot of that stuff still lingering. So, yeah, I'm going to say that's where the sentiments on that was. Douche Crew was just honestly good. Funny and good. Hey Gordy is 5 seconds, you know, whatever. The Ballad of Jimi Hendrix is 4 seconds. I could have done without this one, but I get it, it's funny. Diamonds and Rust is 2 seconds, and this is the extended version. And then the original album ends with Ram It Up, which is okay. It's, you know, it's got that punk vibe. Or no, sorry, Diamonds and Rust is where the original album ends, sorry. Ram It Up is where the bonus track comes in. And the bonus track, I think I'd rather have it end on Ram It Up than have it end with Diamonds and Rust's extended version. If Drew had this album on, I would listen to it and not say anything and just kind of laugh and go along with it. It's not an album I will personally put on again myself. There are a couple songs on here that actually are pretty decent, though. Once again, this reminds me of listening to one of the punk bands from my high school. If me, Drew, and his brother Matt had done more comedy out, if we had tried to be more punk and less thrash and definitely a lot less serious than we were, this definitely would have been a lot more of what we would have been like, for sure. Better sounding, though. Matt was good at getting some good sounds out of us as teenagers with his little 4-track, and I can do it pretty good with my larger board, but you know, this definitely had, it sounds like a little remixing or remastering when they did the 92 version as well. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know. Anyways, folks, this is the first of the Stormtroopers of Death albums I'm going to cover, Speak English or Die. I will be coming back with Bigger Than the Devil, which I have already mentioned that I've listened to when I was having my little ramble about Anthrax. Speaking of my little ramble about Anthrax and thrash metal, this has a more cohesive band-together sound than Persistence of Time did. It really bugs me how separated everybody in the band sounded on that mix. I gotta get my hands on either a vinyl copy or they've got to do a remaster of it. So, you know, get the sound tighter and fuller. Speaking of tighter and fuller, so this sounds like definitely recorded, like we'll say, on a 4-track. They might have had an 8-track. Might have been a 1-inch tape. I kind of want to say possibly a 1-inch tape. Might have been your quarter. Cassette's a 1/4-inch, I think. I want to say a 1-inch though, and I want to say that it was, for the most part, all recorded together. The vocalist maybe put into a separate room. A mic on the guitars, plural, possibly. I didn't check for band numbers, sorry. I guess I should have done that. Okay, so I want to say there was a mic on the guitar, mic on the bass. Obviously, the vocal has its own mic, and then they put 4 mics on the drum set. I want to say 2 overheads, 1 on the snare, and 1 on the bass drum. They might have done, sometimes, depending on, I can't tell 100% for sure, they might have mic'd the snare and the hi-hat together. They might have mic'd them separately. If they used 8 tracks, they would have had enough room to mic the entire drum set individually, plus the guitar, plus the bass, plus the vocal, plus an overdub or 2 if they needed. The whole way around, though, this is a really cool experience. I gotta say that. Well, it's not an album that I would go out of my way to listen to again. It's not an album I'd go out of my way to buy. If you are into thrash, if you're into punk, if you're into that, I don't want to say grindcore, because grindcore doesn't feel right. Like, there's definitely some birth of it in here, but it's still too early, really. But if you like kind of that, and you want to explore that, but you still, you know, you got a sense of humor about stuff, you're not going to take it too seriously, check this out. It really is cool and worth listening to, at least for one time, you know. If I found a used copy for $5 or less, I might pick it up to put it in my collection, just for the sake of having it. You know, if I were building up an Anthrax collection and I wanted to be completionist with, you know, side projects and stuff like that. Outside of that, though, man, you know. Anyways, folks, let me know what you think. Comments down below. That's what they are for. On your way down there, there's a like button, subscribe button, bell for notifications. If you could hit those, I'd really appreciate it. A couple links worth checking out. Otherwise, folks, peace, love, take care.